What's up? This is Hal 9000, and I thought it would take a couple minutes out of my day to talk about this new Blade record that came out entitled Ice Dancer. I think it's produced entirely by Rip Squad, um, which is a couple of producers, including I know PJ Beats I think is in there, who Blade has worked with a couple of times. But before we get into that, I'm gonna DJ a couple of my favorite tracks off the record. Just like 4 of them. So yeah, let's fucking get it. This first one is Mall Whore Freestyle.
I'm a mall whore, and my products look like Tom Force. Black leather gloves on the hardcore.
You got these in silver? Yeah.
I'm a mall whore, and my products look like Tom Ford. Black gloves on, yeah, looking hardcore. Hitman, yeah, I'm rocking with the Dark Lord. If you offer me, baby, then I'm all yours. Sometimes I don't understand what it's all for, but I understand when they see me, then they all soar. That's knocking at my door, that's the front door. Dip out of the back door, hop into the black Porsche. Hop into the black Porsche, she said I should talk more. I can't even talk more, you should shake the scoreboard. Back to better games, can I meet Shelly again? Being in the head I'm in, I don't need a better friend. Tell me everything, I've been through it, let it rain. Bring it up to me again, just so I can feel again. Nothing better than when it's nothing happening. This is a family thing, don't be an embarrassment.
It's so low, it's so low, it's so lonely. It's so low, it's so low, it's so lonely. It's so low, it's so low, it's so lonely. It's so low, it's so low, it's so lonely.
If it's a deep, I gotta bite it. If I see weed, I gotta light it. If I get feelings, gotta hide it. If it's illegal, I don't mind it. I broke my wrist, I gotta ice it. I wanna see you be my sidekick. If I post pics, you gotta like it. If you do this, then you're the nicest. To be honest, if it's wrong, I don't want to be right. I don't wanna talk if you're not gonna talk to me nice. To be honest, if it's wrong, I don't want to be right. I don't wanna talk if you're not gonna talk to me nice. Talk to me nice, talk to me nice. I don't wanna talk if you're not gonna talk to me nice. Talk to me nice, talk to me nice. I don't wanna talk if you're not gonna talk to me.
Baby, let me bring the sky to you, bring the night to you, let your eyes shine through. If I'm going all this life, you know that I'm gonna love you, gonna love you.
I won't get dance for a long time, but you press rewind, but you press rewind. I want to resign, I want to resign. I know it's right, and I can't decide. Better trust my eyes, I shine at night. Lit up like a light, hit you like a light. Can't sleep, I walk on the ice, I keep my lights by my side. Baby, whatever the situation is, I'll be there.
Okay, so those were a couple of my favorite tracks. That was Side by Side, Mall Whore Freestyle, Be Nice to Me, which is probably mine and everybody else's favorite track off the record, and Anything, which is the closer, and probably my second favorite. Um, so I think this is a pretty interesting project. It does a couple of things differently for Blade, which I like. I feel like he's always sort of trying something at least a little bit different. I felt like maybe Red Light was sort of his most regressive project, but even at that, it was still doing something new, with the vocal mixing, and the beats were sort of muted and structured differently than White Armor normally does. So there's that. But this definitely the production on this thing definitely has that like early White Armor sort of really shimmery, glitzy synths, kind of a vibe to it. Hard hitting bass in like every track, sort of uses a lot of the pretty typical like mainstream trap drum patterns and drum sounds. There's not really too much diversity in the sound selection, which is probably my biggest issue with the tape. I think all the beats are good, but they're definitely very similar sounding at points. Like if this was a 7 or 8 song project, I think it would definitely see it through. But to do like 35 minutes and 19 tracks of these pretty similar beats can sometimes get in the way. But they are really pretty. I mean, they are beautiful like a lot of the time, and they do knock. So, there's that. Just not a lot of diversity. And like, I don't know. As far as compliments on the production, I really like all the slowdowns that come out through this thing, where sort of it'll be like 2 songs equal 1 song, because 1 song will play like part of the song after it. Like that happens on the transition of I think it's 4-0, yeah, 4-0 to anything. And that's really cool. It sort of lends to the whole like mixtape feel of the project. And going in that direction, there are also some just like sound effects. Like there's like a laser sound effect that plays at multiple points throughout the album. So they're just like these little moments that sort of mark the entire project, and these elements that keep coming back and recycling themselves, which I think is really cool. It makes it fun to listen to the whole thing all together, because you keep saying, "Oh, I recognize that," whatever. So I really like that. Also, the last track that's just it's sort of an instrumental. It's got a vocal sample. The Silent Boy Cries Rip Squad outro. That's a pretty sick track. It reminds me a lot of Clams Casino. And I also want to give a special shout out to Cartier God instrumental, or not instrumental, Cartier Ice Dancer intermission. That Cartier God, I'd never heard of him before, but I guess he has a song with like Lil B from a couple years ago and whatnot. He's good. I like his feature a lot. It was really jarring to listen to at first, because it sort of sounds like he's like vocal frying very close to the mic, but really it does grow on you. Like by the time you've listened to that song all the way through and you've heard that hook 3 times, you'll definitely start I'm bobbing my head to this. Okay, I feel that. And it's just got sort of, it's like this weird avant-garde pop rap song, and it's actually, I think it's the longest track on the album as well, or close to it. Oh no, it's not, but it is one of the longest tracks. And I don't know, it's got these weird like ad-libbed text-to-speech sounds that keep playing through it. I mean, it's honestly a really cool track if you listen to it a couple times, and I think it's a pretty experimental but catchy song, and definitely sort of paving a way. A couple tracks on this album that I thought were a little bit mediocre or disappointing were, I don't know, I've heard Frosty the Snowman before. I never really liked it so much. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Blade, but that song never really caught my attention so much. It's just like there are moments with the mixing of that track where it just literally is peaking so hard, and like I can tell, and it's coming through, every pair of speakers that I listen to it with, and it's just like, why is this allowed to happen? I don't know. It sort of spoils it. It sort of spoils it for me. Also, the track with Young Lean, I thought Blade had a really good verse on that song, but overall the Lean feature was not amazing. Sort of expected a little more, because I mean, I know that Young Lean can add so much to a track, and I've loved the work that they've done before. I I thought there was like a pretty good bar of quality on this thing. Like even if I thought that there were like a couple tracks that were a little bit forgettable, or just sort of blended into the whole album. But overall, like the bar of quality is really high. It still makes me excited for everything that Blade can do and is gonna do in the future. I think he's probably one of the most unique, excuse me, unique artists going in hip hop right now. A really, really unique voice and sort of a really poetic sense of lyrics. Honestly, I think there are a lot of good bars on this thing. Some of them, maybe a couple like more generic ones, but overall, this was a pretty engaging album to listen to as far as lyrics. You sort of find him tackling themes of like, I don't know, it seems like he's actually talking about his own come up and like his career in the music industry on anything, which is cool, about like the position that he's in and like still being lonely and depressed even though he's actually, you know, like been able to make something out of music. It's a cool track. Um but yeah, overall I'd give this album 7.5 out of 10. Very enjoyable. Definitely keeps me satisfied as a Blade fan. Probably not my favorite project of his. That would go to Ever Since. Because White Armor's a god. But yeah, good album. I'm excited to hear more.